day and welcome to today's edition of the Evening Review. I'm Ashley Smith, the news editor of Namibian Sun. Let's take a look at today's front page. And staying with today's front page, the SWAPO Party Youth League has strongly condemned audio clips in which an unidentified person describes President Hage Geingob as useless for appointing Bonifacius Wakadumo as Kavango East governor.
The purpose of this press conference is actually to say something about the remarks of some people towards the president. So I will read a statement on behalf of the Youth League on the derogatory remarks made towards the head of state with regards to the appointment of the new governor for Kavango East region, Honorable Bonifacius Wakadumo. Firstly, the SWAPO Party Youth League in the Kavango East region would like to use this platform to thank the head of state for appointing Honorable Bonifacius Wakadumo as the new governor for Kavango East region. Secondly, we want to thank the former governor, Honorable Samuel Mbambo, for the work he has done for the people of this region, and we wish him good health and strength wherever he's going to be. The SWAPO Party Youth League therefore condemns in the strongest possible term that it deserves the audio that was recorded in Thimbukushu language referring to the head of state as Thiporoporo, meaning useless, for appointing Honorable Bonifacius Wakadumo. And we are further calling on the person who recorded the audio to apologize to the head of state for the uncalled language used with immediate effect. In light of the above, it is very much important for all of us to understand that the appointments in this regard is the prerogative of the president. And therefore, the SWAPO Party Youth League is calling on all residents of the Kavango East region to respect the decision of the head of state and render the necessary support to the new governor. The new governor is a human being like all of us. And what is factual about human nature is that we are all subjected to errors. And that's why we need each other, so that we can rectify and build one another. We also believe that in life, there's always a room for improvements, both personally and professionally. We are further warning the self-proclaimed activists to stop playing with our two governors, both for Kavango East and West region. We want you to stop discrediting our leaders for your own political reasons. We are from these two regions and we know our challenges better than you know them. And we are working with our leaders to remedy those challenges. Lastly, we are calling on all Namibian citizens to continue adhering to the state of emergency regulations to fight COVID-19. Thank you very much.
And welcome back, viewers. I'm joined today by Veronica Theron, who is Dr. Veronica Theron, who is a gender specialist in the office of the First Lady. And welcome, first of all.
Thank you, Ashley, for having me.
No, it's good to have you, and quite a privilege to have you with us today. We're here to talk about quite a serious and kind of very gravitas kind of issue, which is gender-based violence during the time of the lockdown and state of emergency in Namibia. Obviously, this is a time where people are saying families can connect with each other and reignite those bonds together during this period, but that's not possible for all families, is it, Veronica?
Exactly. You know, it is a known fact that we have a big problem with gender-based violence in Namibia. So for those already in toxic and unhealthy relationships, this can be a bad time, because gender-based violence is rooted in inequality, power, anger, but also control. And in this time of lockdown and confinement, the perpetrator uses the isolation that is needed, but they use it to exert violence. So if there was already a problem in the relationship, chances is highly likely that it will make matters worse. It's like you take all the stressors that comes with the pandemic and you add it on a already toxic relationship. It's like putting oil on fire.
Yeah, most definitely. And of course, being stuck in the same space with your abuser, that can't obviously be easy for women, children, even men who are abused in relationships.
Definitely. You see, you are now forced to be with your abuser 24/7. And many of the women, children and men that are in abusive relationships use their workplaces and schools as an escape.
Yes.
And with this COVID-19 comes the disruption in that access, in the social networks, in your protective network. So you don't have easy access. So you could go out in the past to your office and you could talk to a colleague. Yes. Or you could easily go to a doctor, which is not the case. So there's a lot of restrictions, and it makes it very difficult for the person in an abusive relationship.
And of course, with the impacts, the economic impacts, we always hear, and obviously this is very true, that a lot of people stay in abusive relationships because of economic dependency. And especially during this time, that could actually worsen.
Yes. We know that economic dependency is a key factor why people stay in abusive relationships. And if the person is the sole breadwinner, imagine the control is just so much more, because he makes decisions around what you will eat, when you will eat. Yeah. He controls all aspects of your life. And I'm thinking of a mom having minor children. So many a times they remain in the relationship because the abuser is the one putting bread on the table, and you think more about the minor children than yourself.
Yes. Just in terms of what the Office of the First Lady is doing proactively in this regard, can you tell us a bit about that?
Okay. So we have the gender-based violence pillar in the office since the inception for the last 5 years now. And we focus on precedent setting cases so that we can influence legislation. So it's not us having the mandate, but we complement what is already out there. So for the COVID period specifically, we sort of step up our game to see what can be a rapid response task team, and we established such a team. I spoke with various of the frontline service providers, and I realized how many of the cases are falling through the cracks. Because if I'm in a crisis, I don't want to talk to a social worker or a psychologist who now wants to sit and counsel. I'm in a crisis. I need to flee. Yes. So that's why we really try to coordinate all the call centers to say, if a case comes in, you need to immediately assess, is this a matter of life and death? So we coordinate that task team. We work with so many partners already in existing networks like the gender-based violence unit, and we are very pragmatic in what we do. To give you an example, what we did for the last week, the vehicle that the police commander is doing his job on a daily basis, there was money needed for that. Yes. That is where we will then invest. We also work with the frontline service providers because of the nature of what they do. They tend to be burnt out. So I check in with them on a regular basis to support them in a psychosocial way. We have partners, beautiful goodwill out there that do a lot of pro bono work. So if I have a rape victim that emotionally crack, I can refer them to a private hospital where they can get a whole continuum of care and no need to worry about payments of that. We are also feeding people in this time. We are part of the co-feed project where we identify households, also people in our, from my caseload, knowing that they struggle in general and they now struggle even more. So we give food parcels, we give toiletries, basic essentials like cleaning materials and stuff, just to mention a few.
Yeah. Veronica, just in terms of, I'm a neighbor or I'm in the community and I see someone, or I pick up signs that someone is being abused during this time, or just generally, what do I do? What do I do in that situation as a member of the public?
I think if we want to eradicate gender-based violence as much as COVID-19, we need to have a collective approach and not to see it's the person out there until it's under your skin. So we need to have a bigger focus on prevention. I've read about a very nice community project in South Africa where people in a small village, if they hear a lady or a child cry next door, they all get up, what time of the morning, and they bang against a pot. And if all pots are banging at the same time, somebody get the time to call the police. So you also distract the person exerting the violence, or also tell him that we don't tolerate it. So we need to become active bystanders and not to say it's a private matter, it's nothing I can do about it.
Yes. And generally speaking, there have been complaints about maybe the police not taking fights between partners or wives and husbands seriously enough. What has been your experience in terms of that?
As somebody working in this field for close to 30 years, I can sing praises to the police. Yeah. Because what people out there see is maybe the one or two negative stuff. But I see police officers not sleeping. I see police officers buying food and paying for basic utilities out of their own pockets. I've seen police that really go the extra mile with whatever they have. I had a case in the last 2 weeks where a police officer worked for 2 full weeks on one case. Because we don't understand the complexities that comes with removal that person, getting personal belongings, being admitted in hospital, walk with the person, journey with the person from the onset of the case until the finalization of the court case. We get police officers that are misusing their powers, but the majority of them, they are really going out of their way. But we need to have adequate resources, because I can call out the police, but if there's no vehicle available, what is it that they can do? So instead of being part of the complaints, the problem, we should come to the plate and say, I want to be part of the solution.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah. That is very true. a proactive approach, I think, is something that needs to be learned, I think, in Namibia specifically.
Yeah.
But also, I just want to touch on a bit of a sore point, but quite a serious issue as well, and that is the role of alcohol in the abuse cycle.
Yes.
Obviously, we know people are quite upset at the moment that they can't purchase alcohol, but it also plays a key role in gender-based violence.
Definitely. What I've seen is that where there's alcohol involved, it makes it very difficult, for instance, for the complainant or the victim. If there's a scenario where the victim was part of the party and there was the attitude of your frontline service provider immediately is like, it's not as serious. So I'm not blaming the victim. Reality is that the cases are not getting the attention it deserves. Also, I worked with many cases where the survivor was so drunk that she blacked out, she cannot remember, she cannot give a coherent statement of what happened. We don't have a case, and you have a rapist walking out there. I also want to reiterate that alcohol is not a root cause, because I've seen many perpetrators that never smoke or drank. Yeah, but it is a big contributing factor, and if you see the trends and tendencies, is we have more sexual violence during weekends, and it is usually at places where there's alcohol consumptions. We have more rape cases during school holidays, during end of year functions where there are alcohol involved. So definitely it's a contributing factor.
And just finally, Veronica, obviously the First Lady, Veronica Geingob, has had her first term, so to speak, as First Lady. And moving into the second term, what will be the focus of the office that you involved in?
Specifically with regards to gender-based violence.
Gender-based violence, yes, but there's obviously a number of other programs that you
okay, all the other programs.
The Be Free movement,
exactly,
the Me Too movement, and so forth. So we just want to get an idea, just a little bit of an idea of what we can expect from the Office of the First Lady going forward in terms of those programs and other ones. Okay.
So we want to play a role in coordinating better when it comes to the gender-based violence programs, because as it is, it's quite fragmented. So we want to work hand in hand with the Ministry of Gender Equality and Child Welfare, with the Gender-Based Violence Unit and stuff, so that we can sort of scale up. We know there's already a lot of strengths, but we also still have a lot of weaknesses and gaps. And what is it we need to work more strategic? What is it that we can do to close those gaps? So that's definitely one, so that we have integrated comprehensive response services where we can also focus more on prevention. We know currently there is a gap between our robust legislation, but implementation is an issue. What is it that we can do to close those gaps? So in terms of gender-based violence, we're excited. We want to take it to the next level. In terms of Be Free, there's a lot that we plan to do with the young people, because we've realized when it comes to gender norms, it's better to work with them earlier on and on a younger age than wait for somebody that's 60 and the character is already there. So there's a lot of programs with the Be Free. In terms of our enterprise development and entrepreneurship, we will continue to assist them with finances, because we're building bridges, and those that are there, we want them to scale up. An exciting program now is one of our entrepreneurs that were in lockdown, but she decided to start to make masks. And we will encourage that, because it's you answer to the problem, but you can also put food on your table. So there's a lot coming up in the next 5 years.
Veronica, thank you. It was an absolute pleasure to have you, and thank you for sharing information on a very critical and serious topic with us.
Thank you, Ashley.
We appreciate it.
Sharp.
That's it. And our final clip is from the COVID-19 Daily Show. And City Windhoek CEO Robert Khaimisi spoke to Namibian Sun editor Toivo Njabela about what is going to happen after the current lockdown in terms of development and hygiene, especially in informal areas.
Would the city, like the rest of many public institutions, sit down after this whole COVID-19 episode is over to sort of sit back, because there's been a lot of lessons learned from this thing in terms of how communities live, in terms of conditions that people live in case there's a reoccurrence of this pandemic, or there's another similar kind of situation in the future. What would the city do? Just would do a post-mortem of some sort? Yeah.
Surely on the social welfare of our people, including also our employees,
yeah.
It's very clear that post-COVID-19, the behavior of ourselves,
yeah.
irrespective of where we are living, is going to change. Definitely is going to change. If you want to impact habits,
yeah.
Consistently, if you do something over 30 days, you are going to change.
Yeah.
And believe me, on the behavioral part, it's very clear that hygiene will become a priority, irrespective of your status. That is very clear. We have seen how the young people have also been impacted.
Yeah.
So I think those are the positives. Surely public health is a big issue, especially in Windhoek where we are. So we are hoping to actually leverage on some of those behavioral changes in taking the society going forward.
Yeah.
That is a plus. The economy is impacted.
Yeah.
I think it's clear signals as well to the entrepreneurs of this world that they need to be innovative, they need to diversify,
yeah.
rather than just relying on one pot. So these are also learnings, not only to the government of the day,
Yeah.
but also to the players in the economic space. Yeah, it was very clear during this time. So there is a lot of learnings for everyone.
Indeed.
If we don't learn, surely, even if it repeats itself after 50 years, maybe some of us might not be there.
Yeah.
The next generation is also going to be caught up the way we have been unprepared, caught up by this pandemic.
Indeed.
There's a lot of learning,
Yeah.
definitely even for ourselves as the biggest municipality. We have to also diversify our revenue.
Yeah.
We cannot just rely on ratepayers. The business of the day needs to change.
Indeed.
Completely.
Indeed.
So there's a lot of learnings. That's why we are looking forward to post-COVID-19, so that we can change the way we do business going forward.
Indeed. Robert, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate your time and the good information you shared with us.
Equally, thanks for having us here.
Sure.
Thank you.
That was Robert Khaimisi, the CEO of the City of Windhoek, speaking to us about what you have just heard him speak about. Thank you very much.
And that's all we have time for on the Evening Review today. Please join us tomorrow. I'm Ashley Smith, the news editor of Namibian Sun.
O COVID-19 oshikena. O COVID-19 omuhithe omupembu mauyenene okupuna kwa mapunga no miriu vyo mathuvaneno. Owo ietwa iyo muhoko wondwi yo corona. Ovikanena okukorora, oupyu owingi murutu, okuhino kuthuvana nawa. Themburuka kusha, ovirikushire vyoko murungu mavitho kuungurithiwa iyo vaungure vuveruke na imbamba vera rukuru. Vikamitha kusha odhombudhendwa munu dhathu komburo ompikame poyo washiri. Oranda nomburuma ovinamodongeshefa mavitwiri kwa rukwao kama avianda kako. Omiti omipange vyomuhithe wa mapunga kavino kushurura omuhithe mbwi o COVID-19. O COVID-19 kai yenene okushindwa nukaihwangwa iyo tumwe. Kohorora omakewoye noheva aruhe. Aruhe koho makewoye noheva yomakenji no alkohola muyo. Po koho makewoye nomeva ngenoheva ngapekare oruveve pokatiko vandu aruhe shito gushapekare oruveve romukato wometa imwe pokatiko yeno mundu ngumakorora po ngumatie odhombato penga okutuna komeho omayuru noshinyo omake yetuna kobino vingi nietoora odhondwi peke shia toora ondwinji omake weye mayenene okutwara ondwinji komeho po komayuru po koshinyoshoye chero mbato po korrea mokatishu po moshipeteko aruhe horeka oshinyoshoye nokatishu po moshipeteko shimokorora po shimotie odhombato nambilahi okatishu kuwa ungurisa hakahana omapuwo washiri kuna inga womainjambo omirari vyotungovi vyomahakaeneno vyeurano mahungi omengi ohunga nokusha ondwi yo corona maipengwavi nokusha omushithembwi o COVID-19 mbuyetwa iyo ondwi yo corona maupangwavi njorutare pamwe kwa mapuwo washiri na ngumaidhiri omainjambo shiva ohunga no mahwangero mainjambo maisha ondwi yo corona maiyenene okushindwa iyo tumwe novikuria vyo vashina epuro washiri marisha kako ondwi yo corona ondwi yomurari womathuvaneno buhwangwa momata indu omundu shakorora po shatie ombato po shathuvana okupititha omunyo po okupitira muuta womate na momayuru ohunga nonjeverero omainjambo maisha okukoha po okuhwa omayuru woye nomeva womongwa maku mayenene okushurura omahwangiro womushithembwi o COVID-19 epuro washiri marisha kako kapeno uhatui wokusha okukoha eyuru nomeva womongwa mayenene okiyama ovandu peno uhatui ongundi wokusha okukoha omayuru woye nomeva womongwa inga osaline yenena okuvatera ovandu mbavere oshinjumba shakauliri okuhakahana okuverura pothia kakushaera omushithe mburi momirari vyomathuvaneno kako ombuvyaro yomainjambo maisha omahungishi vakomirari vyamahakayanithiro maisha okulisha shano alkohola po shikariha morutu roye aruhe makuyenene okushurura o COVID-19 nokusha okushurura omeva omakohore po okunwa omeva omengi mayenene okupititha ondwinji morutu epuro washiri marisha kapeno uhatu imbuma ude uparitho maheyango oparukade ongaro ombwa yo ukohoke no uveruke mumu nokukoha omakewo ye oruvede aruhe nokupenga okukara popelu no vandu makutitiparitha omahwangero ombuvyaro yomainjambo maisha ovikahise vyomake mavienene okudepa ondwi yo corona epuro washiri marisha kako ovikahise vyomake kavina kienene okudepa omushithembwi o COVID-19 nungwari okukoha makewo ye noheva no make jino alkohola po okukoha omakewo ye nomeva woheva mavienene okukuvatera omake omakohoke yeso kukahisiwa nawa nerapi ekohoke po ovikahise vyombepo omainjambu waure maisha omunyo mutaradhu po omunyo woupyu omawiro wamawe wombepera okuria ogalika po okurikoha nomeva omapyu vyarithiwa oshomiano mbima vienene okushurura ondwinji epuro washiri marisha kapeno uhatui mbuma ude uparitha omaheya inga nokusha o COVID-19 maiyenene okutunwa iyo mwinyo wombepo po omakwede wombura omwana omuthembathemba wokulishevera okukoha makewo ye oruvede aruhe nokupenga omahakaeneno kweno vandu mbuma peya avekara nondwinji momwana ombwi moyenene okuithapo odhondwi nduma peya avekara komakewoi nu openge okuhwanga iyo kulituna komeho oshinyo ngandu komayuru omainjambu waure maisha ufokudhara o shiriku shiresho komurungu oruvede aruhe shuri penjeno njuo yoye epurarwero mainjambo marisha ufokudhara o shiriku shiresho komurungu oruvede aruhe shuri penjeno njuo epuro washiri marisha kako obando baveruke mbehino vikanena vyondwinji numbehiamunika omuhithe wo corona vetho kudhara ovirikushire komurungu indishimaveshevere omundu ngumahakerwa momuhithembwi po omundu ngwadhikamithiwa kusha unondwi omuhithembwi ovirikushire vyokomurungu mavieneno kuungura indu shimokorora po shimotie ombato novepumotho kukara kobe omuni nowina vitho kuungurithiwa puno makohero wamake nothongaro tharo ethonjeverero youveruke. Ohungano mapangero omainjambo maisha omiti omipange yotho antibiotics mavienene okushurura nokupanga onduyo corona. Owashiri mausha omitimbi otho antibiotics kaviruitha othondwitho mishithe nongwari viruitha oupuka ounamishithe. Omitimbio kama vishurura po kama vikupanga onduyo corona. Kapeno mitimbi mavishu kwa muruveve ndwimbi maviruitha po mbi mavipanga omushithe wo corona. Pothio kusha imbambe no mushithe mbo mavene no kuunguritha omitimbi munika mothongandado miti omipange shimuna o paracetamol no aspirin.